growing up, yeah, I was a bit insane, to be honest. I'm going to be so real. Like, I wasn't in the right body for a while. And I didn't know the reason. Lewis Capaldi walks in. He's the most amazing person, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's like 50K. Yeah. It's like, okay, where are you then? Where's my dream man then? Like, come on.
Today on the podcast, I am joined by one of our outreachers, somebody on our roster, Loulou O-Ren. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, full disclaimer, if anybody watches this and anybody's watching it on YouTube and not just listening to the audio version, the reason why my hair is wet is because
we were caught in the rain.
We got caught in the rain. So hopefully it'll dry throughout the episode, but we'll see.
Thank God for Emilio's Uber account,
which almost died on me. So
I took a photo of it just in case, but it didn't.
No, that was clever.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for doing that.
Because like do you have a PIN code on your one?
No.
Like you have to say a PIN?
No.
With my Uber account, I have to say a PIN every time I go in the Uber.
Like with Deliveroo?
Yes.
They do that in there as well. No, I've never had that.
I don't know why mine's like that.
I wonder why.
Maybe because I'm like a special person that needs like
You
extra
are.
security.
You're a special person, really. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Of course.
I've not
so
seen you in
excited.
ages, actually.
I know. It's been since the last time I came to the offices.
Which is a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
What have you been up to? You've been to Fashion Week?
Yes.
How was
that? I went to a show, Rue Agthonis, I think that's what it's called. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like, it's just so like ethereal to see all the fashion shows like take place and like the strut of the models and then obviously like the clothes and everything. It was really great, especially with Fabiola. It's so fun.
Yeah, obviously. I could see you in a fashion show.
You think?
Do you want to?
I
like
could.
One day? Is that something you want to do?
You know what? Yeah, in a way. But like, I feel like I have such a style myself that like, if they put me in something ugly, I'd be really upset. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought that when we watched the show.
I'm sure so many people are so annoyed about what they're wearing.
I know. Or like, if they put my hair in like some weird thing and like you know, it's a dedication, I think, to be a model, and you just have to accept it. But they're so beautiful in the first place that it doesn't really matter. Like, you could just throw a rag on them.
I've never been to any of the shows.
Why didn't you go?
People in the team always go, and it's just something where, like, I'm not that into fashion to the point where I'm like, I need to, like, I like, you know, wearing clothes like everybody does, but I've never
You're quite stylish.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Lulu. I've had a bit of a change up recently.
Why?
Because I was getting made fun of for wearing the same thing all the time. Like, I'm that
but
person,
that's kind of like a...
like capsule wardrobe. Have you heard of that term? So I just wore the same thing again and again and again. So
well, it's good to experiment.
So I got made fun of. So
who made fun of you?
Friends, family, people in the office.
Oh no.
Fabiola.
Definitely Fabiola. Because she's the style icon. So.
She is. Her and Dylan in the office are definitely the people that keep me young in the office.
You are young.
I'm not compared to our office.
True.
I'm like old. I'm going grey. I'm having to dye my hair.
That's so sad.
Dyed my hair for
That's so upsetting.
Dyed my hair for the first time.
It's okay. You can't really tell.
Yeah, well, I need to do it again.
Oh.
Because it's...
Well, it seems perfect to me. You seem cool to me. He's cool.
Thanks. I'm going to take that from Lulu. Lulu, I always start every podcast by kind of focusing on certain topics and the reason why. You asked me in the Uber on the way here, why did I want you on the podcast today?
Yeah.
And I think that we obviously have some amazing people on our roster, but very few have a story like yours and are sharing a story like yours on social media. So I want to dig into that. I want to dig into what it's like to share such a personal story on social media, the ups and the downs.
Of course.
But take me back, and I always think it's a good place to start, but take me back to your childhood. Like, where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid? Were you naughty? I feel like you were quite cheeky.
London, born and bred.
Yeah, there you go.
London, North London.
Yeah.
And
big family?
I was quite, not a huge family. I've got my brother, then my mum and my dad.
Yeah.
And we're all still together. And
still live together?
Yeah.
All of you? Wow.
Yeah. And my brother's actually trying to move out.
Right.
But
London.
I'm staying at home for now because it's not worth moving out. I live so close to uni and stuff. But growing up, yeah, I was a bit insane, to be honest. I'm gonna be so real. Like, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it and be like, yeah, I was like a cute little kid. Like, no. Like, no, I was like weird.
In what way?
I had like pretty bad anger issues. How weird is that? Like, I feel like you could expect that somehow through my TikTok. You can see that.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
I'm a little bit aggressive sometimes. Depends on the situation. But yeah, I had really bad anger issues actually.
Really?
Yeah. And I had to like have like, not like therapy, but like in school, like training.
Yeah.
I went to like this really weird like private school when I was like younger.
Right. Okay.
And they like used to take me out of like lessons and be like, okay, here's some like methods to just calm down. And I was like so confused. I was just like, what do you want about? Let me do
How
my
old
thing.
were you when this?
I was like 5.
How are they
between
supposed
the
to
ages
get a
of like
5-year-old
5
to
to
do
8.
that? It makes no sense when you're trying to get a hold of a 5-year-old and be like, behave like this.
I know.
You're just gonna be like, what the hell are you on about?
I mean, the weird thing is though, but even though I was like a bit of a naughty child, I always had the best grades.
Really? So
Yeah.
you're intelligent then? I mean, you can kind of tell.
I mean,
but as a kid, you were intelligent.
yeah,
Nice.
I'd say so. I mean, I didn't do my GCSEs because I was like the COVID year,
Interesting.
but I did do my A levels.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they
And
do
I
that
got-
thing where they just kind of guessed your grade?
From the mocks.
Nice.
And I did get a lot of like 9s. Do you know what that means?
No.
Like to get a 9.
This is how old
they
I
don't
am.
do the A to
No.
B, A to C thing anymore for like GCSEs. It's like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4, 5. 9 is like the best.
I've heard it because I've got some friends that are younger, but I'm still of the age where it was like A's to F's or whatever it was.
God, I do not want to go back to that time. No.
We'll get onto it because you're at uni at the moment, and we'll get
Yeah.
onto that in a bit. But why? I mean, maybe it all feeds into each other. But why do you think you were a naughty kid? Like, is it just a personality
It's
thing?
obvious. I think it's obvious. I think it's the fact that like I wasn't in the right body for a while, and I didn't know the reason because I was so young.
Yeah.
I had no clue that like being trans was even a thing.
Right.
Until I was like
How
12.
did you find out that being trans was a thing?
There was this. Okay, there was the 2 creators online. So Nikita Dragon, number 1, and Gigi Gorgeous.
Okay.
Those were the first people that I was like, that's possible.
So that's the first time you ever heard about being
I was like
trans.
12.
Wow.
Yeah. So I knew that there was always a problem, but I didn't know that it was a problem that had a solution.
Got you.
So I think that was like one of the biggest parts of it. And I think that was really important. I feel like those like phases in my very early childhood of that like, frustration or anger, like it may have been directed on other people, but it was totally a frustration within myself.
How did your family kind of, between the ages of like 8 when you were acting out and 12 when you decided to see like, oh, there's a solution here, what were your family like? Were they, I'm assuming they didn't talk about trans at all?
No.
Because
I mean, my mum went to theatre school.
Right.
So I go to drama school.
Yeah.
My mum went to theatre school.
Okay.
She has such a wide, diverse range of friends.
Got you. Okay.
So my family has never been the type of family that was like traditional.
Right.
Or
okay.
they've always been so liberal, so accepting of everything. I think it's the way they grew up as well, which is the most amazing thing. But surprisingly, I figured out about trans, like, the trans world when I was 12, but then only did something about it when I was like 15.
What took, why did it take 3 years for you to do anything about it?
Because I think it's a really scary thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard. I envy some of the like trans people that I know that figured it out so young. Like because it's an extremely difficult process. Number one, if you want to do, if you want to medically transition, not every trans person has to medically transition to be trans.
Yeah.
But it is an extremely long, difficult process. It can be expensive. You could be on waiting lists for years.
Yeah.
And like, I always thought to myself, once I actually came out and started my transition, I was like, oh, I wish I did this earlier. I could have saved myself so much grief.
Yeah.
But we're here now.
Where did you get like the info from then? Was it all social media?
Social media.
Wow.
That's the crazy thing about social media, especially my generation, is I feel like
you find everything.
Everything I knew was from social media.
Do you think that's a good thing? Like, do you think, but not maybe like, because we'll go on to your social media.
I know what you mean.
Back then, was it a good thing? Because was the info accurate?
Back then, social media was not the same as it is now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what my question is.
Yeah,
like,
no. It was a lot more unhinged.
Yeah.
So like, you would be exposing yourself to things that are like completely like you would not see on like there was like Vine and like stuff, and then loads of YouTubers that would post the most like crazy things like, and you'd be like, what am I watching? But a funny thing is that when I was a child, I felt that TV actually influenced me a little bit more. Cartoons, so like Adventure Time.
Got you. Okay, yeah.
Do you know what Adventure Time is?
I'm older.
Okay. When your little girl grows up, tell her to watch Adventure Time.
What is it?
When she's like 10.
Okay.
Because it will educate her in the best way possible. It's a TV
I'm
show.
scared about
It's a
what it
cartoon TV show, but it has so many amazing morals in it. And sometimes
okay.
it can be a little scary, not gonna lie, but like it is amazing. I think there's more adult meanings in it than like a show for children, and I feel like that show really educated me on like being a good person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But that along with social media definitely made this like weird concoction in my mind of like, who am I? You know,
it's so interesting. So obviously you obviously learned about the trans community from social media, and then you decided to share your story on social media. Was you sharing your story on social media a conscious decision, or more just like, I'm going on socials and then people just found out? Like, what was it?
It's a crazy thing. I think the way everything happened for me was the most like strike of luck thing. Like something in the universe was like, here,
just
you know what I
fate.
mean? Yeah, fate. I think, I don't know how. I honestly, I still am confused to this day why people follow me in a way. And I'm not trying to be like that. I'm like this humble influencer. No, like I actually do get confused.
You've got a million
sometimes.
followers, Loulou. I think there's a reason.
Yeah, maybe. Well, probably. But like, you know, it was one day where there was this little challenge going about social media.
Yeah.
Which was a British accent challenge.
Yeah.
And I've always loved acting and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm from London, so I know what a roadman sounds like.
Yeah.
I grew up with roadmen around me. It's like, I know what it's like. And I saw that going around and I was like, you know what? I can do a really good American accent. So, and I'm also trans. So people think I'm a girl when they like look at me, and I am a girl, but I can do this really low voice.
Is this the video that KSI reacted? Yeah, I watched it yesterday. It's so good.
I look awful in it. I can't believe that's like
you do look very different.
Very different.
Like I almost was like, is that Loulou?
I know.
But how many years ago was that though?
That was like 2 years ago, two and a half years ago. Maybe even a bit longer now.
Okay.
So, it was weird because I did it and I didn't think it was, you know, I watched it back and I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just like post that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's funny. Also, like, it's funny because like I can do such a low voice and like it's really shocking.
It is like the juxtaposition is amazing.
It is I think that was the thing about it. And so I posted it and I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and it had like 2 million views. And I was like,
wait, is this your first ever video?
One of my first ever videos.
Wow.
One of them. I used to just post like TikToks like with friends and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And so that was one of my like first. And then throughout the whole day, it got to like 20 million views in like 3 days. Yeah. And then I got posted on like I'm Just Bait and like all of the meme page, like all of them. It was insane. It was like the weirdest thing that's like ever happened to me. I remember my brother sending me like memes of me and like going like, Lou, you made it.
What was that like to get that kind of crazy virality?
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
That's the word.
It was funny at first, but then it's like weird.
Right.
It was weird. At school, it was really weird.
Okay.
At school, it was really
people
weird.
were coming up to you.
Yeah.
Being like, wow.
Like, oh my God, like Lou, like you've gone so viral. Like, what the hell?
Were they positive about it, or were they?
Yeah, mostly. But then, like, you know, meme pages are really weird because, especially like the mainly male-dominated meme pages, can be really horrible.
Can be brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Like. Really horrible. I got some scary messages.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually something, and it's kind of jumping ahead, but it's a good segue to talk about it. You've obviously shared your story online. You're going to have some really positive stuff, really positive comments, and you're going to have some really shitty comments.
Always.
What's that been like when you know that you're trying to share this positive, you know, story of your life? What's it been like when you've had that kind of, from the meme pages, the horrible comments?
It is so weird because there are so many people that really care about you.
Yeah.
And that say things that have so much love and want to see you more and to hear from you and all of this stuff. And then there's always going to be that kind of influx of negativity that comes with it. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inevitable if you're a beauty creator, if you're a comedy creator. It's any type of person that's on social media. There's always going to be someone who doesn't like you.
Yeah, 100%.
And it took a while to accept that because there were times where it was like kind of scary. Like I think when it died down after KSI did a Try Not to Laugh to me, because he was really like cool about it.
Yeah.
It was really weird. he was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously his like insane like army
Yeah.
of people. And that was like a really great promotion for me, I think. And I didn't even like ask for it to happen. I remember, it's a crazy story. I was on the bus, on the 326 bus, on the way home from school. On the way home from school, two of my friends, which I'm not friends with anymore, but you know, two of my friends get on the bus, run up to me, Loulou, you're in a KSI video, you're in a KSI video, you're in a KSI. And I was like, what is going on? And it's a try not to laugh. And it's just him laughing at this video for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The video is 11 minutes long. It's 3 minutes of him just laughing. And I'm like,
I made it.
Slay. Yeah, no, it was funny. It was funny as hell.
So what do you do though when going back to the negativity that you feel? And I want to finish this podcast and when we go through it talking about positivity. So let's just get through the negative stuff. How do you deal with it? And not just how do you deal with it? What's your advice now for people when they get the negative hate online, especially people in the trans community?
I think it's a thing that you must expect, but you must learn to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done. However, I think a way that I overcame it, which is quite an interesting way, is using it to my advantage. So I'd reply to a hate comment in a video and get another 2 mil views just for replying to the hate comment.
I love this.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, as they say, like bad publicity is good publicity in a way. Like whatever comes to you, reflect it in a way that can positively affect yourself.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to do that, but once you kind of get the hang of it, but also you got to let yourself feel the emotions sometimes.
Right.
Like I used to push it down a lot and be like, oh, this means nothing. I'm not affected by this. Like I'm so cool and I can do all of this. But no, it totally does can affect you.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you got to be real with yourself and, you know, speak to the people that you love most. And they're always going to be there for you.
Have you ever thought about, you know, I've spoken to creators before and they want to turn off the comments or something like that.
No.
Have you ever thought about doing that? No.
Never.
No.
I love the comments. I thought about it once actually.
Yeah.
Actually once, yeah. I think it was because they like, you know, it was like a day where I felt really pretty and I posted a TikTok and then some person, probably like some 11-year-old boy, like commented like something like, I can't even remember what he said. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should just turn off comments from now on. But no, because I think it's a really important part of your engagement is...
It's also being real.
Yeah, is people commenting. Also, I like replying every now and again.
Yeah.
And I like just seeing what people have to say. There's also fun little conversations that happen in my comments all the time of like friends tagging each other, then having a full-on conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm like entering
the
some gossip right now.
The negativity is just not worth getting rid of all that positive conversation that's
Absolutely
going
not.
on.
Yeah.
Because I saw a video that you posted, I think it was like August time. And you know, your channel, and you say in this video, my channel is about being positive and spreading joy and like having fun, but you were being really honest and you were like, today I'm having a shit day.
Yeah.
And you know, you're coming to terms with, and I won't talk, you know, for you. I'm sure you know the video I'm talking about. And you did have to say that you were having one of your crap days.
Yeah.
And you were being really raw and honest online. How difficult is that? Because it's almost, you know, in a way easier to share the good stuff.
Of course.
And everybody shares the good stuff. Like you go on social media and it's just people sharing their best parts of their life.
Yeah.
How is it when you're having to be real with people? And do you kind of feel like a responsibility to share that?
That video
realness?
was in my drafts for like a week.
Really?
So, yeah.
What made you not post it?
What made me not post it was the thought of maybe like I am actually totally fine. Like
Right.
that's the thing with my own personal mental health.
Yeah,
I feel I'm always trying to convince myself that I'm totally fine.
Got you.
And I was like, maybe this is a thing that doesn't really need to be said. But then I was like, this isn't really just about me, is it? This is about all of the people that can go and have gone through similar things.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made me post it. And it was an important video, I feel, because I think it was such a specific like niche that video reached. Because all of the comments were like the nicest comments and like people going through similar things. And I was like, okay, thank God TikTok is actually doing something right for once, you know? And I was like, oh, that. It was a nice response from that.
Do you feel pressure? Like, do you see yourself as a bit of a role model? Do you have that pressure yet?
I know that there's a lot of like younger trans girls and guys that like definitely see me as like something interesting to look up to. I think it's because the whole roadman voice thing created this kind of like little, when it first started like blowing up, it kind of
Yeah.
created this little like movement, I feel, of like, I'm a trans girl. However, I don't need to fit into an exact specific stereotype of femininity, hyper femininity, being a woman to prove that I am
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was something I struggled with like insanely.
Right.
When I first transitioned, I was like, okay, I need to wear crop tops all the time. I need to have the perfect makeup. I need to do the most, like, I need to wear dresses.
Where does that pressure come from? Like, is it
Social media.
social media?
Absolutely.
Because that's what they're portraying
Yeah.
is a woman.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also just growing up, I
Yeah.
think in London and stuff like that and all of that. I mean, obviously nowadays it's like so much better.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, that was definitely around me. It was like, okay, this is this and this is that. When it came to school and stuff.
How did you get, like, because this is really interesting for anybody who's going through the same thing. How did you get rid of that pressure? Like, was it just a gradual thing?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. It was a day before school, and it was a day like, how am I? Sorry. The morning before school.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The morning before school, I was doing my makeup. This was like year 11. I was doing my makeup before school, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh no, this is shit. And I took my makeup off and I did it again. And then I took my makeup off because I didn't like it, and I did it again, and I took it off again, and I did it again. I did my makeup 4 times, the whole thing, that morning before school. And when I was on the way to school, I was thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing? Why am I putting myself through so much pressure to be a specifically perfect individual so much?
Yeah.
And that really scared me, I think, the way
Right.
I was so obsessed. And because of that, I realized, you know what? Like, I don't need to do this.
No.
I don't need to do this for anyone. And that really like made an impact on me. And I know it's just such a minor thing, doing your makeup every morning, but it really did.
Because it's more of a mental thing of, I'm trying to, I'm trying to conform with what people expect of me. And it can be a small thing like makeup, but that's really the overarching thing, is that you're trying to, you feel like, and that's where the pressure comes in, right? Do you think that through sharing your story and through, others sharing their story, and I know that TikTok can be a bit crap sometimes for things, and all social media platforms can, but it's also been a place now where younger people can learn about themselves more. Do you feel like there's more positivity online than when you were the 12-year-old looking on?
Yes.
Or is it worse now because there's more people?
I think there's more like subgenres that like people can find themselves comfortable in.
Yeah.
Especially with TikTok.
Yeah.
There is like these specific aesthetics or like niches or like that, a young person can, fall down that rabbit hole and find a community really randomly.
Yeah.
And it definitely exists. And I think that's a quite a special thing. However, obviously, because of its extreme vastness as a platform, it is always going to have,
the negatives
and the things that make it difficult, that people that want to tear each other down.
It's actually quite funny, going back to what you were saying about, one of my questions for you is about stereotypes of trans people, and I wanted to ask you about what some of those stereotypes are. And when you were talking about, trying to be perceived as like the perfect woman, what are some stereotypes that you feel like people still think of a trans woman these days?
I feel like these days it's a little bit better.
Right.
I think when I was watching it, when I was like growing up and watching these people, like the creators I told you about at the start, it was like the stereotypes was like, you have to have, big boobs and like, and all this plastic surgery and just this fakeness.
Yeah.
There was this fakeness to it and this lack of like authenticity.
Right.
That was a stereotype that I feel for the trans community. Even a while back, it was like you're not a real person, and you're not a real woman. You're not a real man. You're trying to be something that you'll never be. That was something that was definitely prevalent.
Do you feel any pressure now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because of what happened on TikTok and everything, I get recognized a lot in public, and it's not because of how many followers I have. It's because of like how much for some reason my videos have been spread
Yeah,
across
yeah, yeah.
platforms
Yeah, yeah,
just by other people.
yeah, yeah. You send your friend like, look at this.
Yes,
Yeah,
and like there are people that are putting me on their private stories. Like, you know, I
yeah.
have friends from friends from friends. It's like, oh my god, you're on my friend's private story yesterday, and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
And so because of that, I get recognized like a lot,
Yeah.
especially when I go out a lot. If I go
Yeah.
to the club, if I go anywhere, anywhere
Mm.
really. I've even happened it to me in Boots on my high street. And I was like, oh my God. And I looked like a mess. And because of that, I have this pressure now where whenever I go out,
Yeah.
I do have to look somewhat presentable. And I feel like that's a pressure.
Right. Okay.
But my style has definitely changed.
Yeah.
I used to think that I was like, had to, you know, be really like pretty and like feminine and like light, you know? Now I mean, this is just like a comfy outfit because, you know, but like if I were like, Fabiola and I went to a couple of events recently, and I wore like a oversized, you know, t-shirt and like cargos and like, you know, but I always do my makeup nice and pretty.
Interesting.
But I really like tomboyish fashion.
I do feel like that is the fashion at the moment, though.
100%.
So
I think Billie
works.
Eilish helped out a lot.
100%.
Helped out a lot. I know, but it is at the end of the day, it is like comfy. Like it can be fashionable and it can be comfy too.
Do you get a lot of pressure when you're out and people recognize you to do the roadman voice all the time? Is it annoying?
Oh yeah, it's awful because especially sometimes it can be great. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I'm like, let's go, like you know, let's do it. Like you can film a video with me. It'll be funny.
Yeah.
However, there have definitely been times where I felt really, really nice about myself. And I felt like I was this, you know, I was wearing a really nice outfit and like no one has clocked me that I'm trans, even though it's not a bad thing. Sometimes, you know, when you're a trans woman or a trans man, you just don't want to be clocked. You don't want to be, you know, anyone to know. And that's a normal thing, right? However, when I do get recognized, sometimes they'll ask me to do the roman voice. And I feel like I'm this, you know, pretty and feminine today. It really does annoy me because I'm just like outing myself in front of like everyone, like I'm ruining it.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's less of like, you know, when people get known for like a catchphrase from a TV show and they're like, God, I don't want to have to say it again.
Oh yeah.
But this is more that you just don't want to be like outed in front of people. It's
I don't care about the voice itself. It's the fact that there is such like I think sometimes people forget that there is such a divide between like me and this roadman person.
Yeah.
Like people think that to be honest, for a while people thought that it was my boyfriend in the back, like saying so. I don't have a boyfriend, by the way, but you know, hit me up. But for a while people thought that it was like my fake boyfriend in the background that was just like saying all of it, and I was just miming it.
Yeah.
And I was like, if only you knew.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's funny.
So where does that come from in terms of the pressure and the annoyance when people out you in public? Like you said, it's not a bad thing to be trans. You're proud of being trans. Is it just the headache of having to like fucking go through it again and talk to people about the situation? And they ask you, frankly, probably stupid questions.
Can I tell you the most like crazy thing about it all is dating apps.
Interesting.
Because when I like started using dating apps, I mean, even to like this day, right? It is crazy the amount of people that will match with you, have this amazing like conversation with you and be like the sweetest person ever and like, oh my God, like totally love bomb you, you know?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, but like, can you do the Rain Man voice? Like, can you send me a voice note of the Rain Man voice? Like, I can't believe I'm speaking to like this girl right now. Like, you're so TikTok famous and like you're doing all, and like you do the Rain Man voice and all my friends love you. Like, this is so jokes. And suddenly it becomes a whole joke. So recently I've been more, I prefer meeting people naturally.
Yeah.
And them not knowing that I do TikTok, and it's something that I can tell them in my own time.
Does it take away the shine of doing TikTok when you have to go through stuff like that?
100%. I you know, there have been times where I've like taken like I've never taken like a really long break from TikTok, but I have taken like small snippets,
like a few weeks here and there.
Yeah, and I find that that's important because sometimes like that whole like pressure can like make you not feel creative.
That's really interesting because I mean, we're as guilty as an agency telling our creators you've got to stay consistent. You've got to post as much as possible, as long as it's really good content.
If only you knew.
And it's value. Yeah, but it is such a good point that in anything in life, whether it's work or exercise or anything, you have to take a break from it. So it's interesting to hear you say that you take breaks, because there's a lot of creators that don't, then they burn out.
I mean, I also have quite a hectic life because of drama school as well. So it's like I can't physically be filming every day, 3 videos a day type thing. Like, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Because my career is, I feel like I have 2 careers at this point. Like I do TikTok, and then I have my like drama school career, which is so important to me. It was difficult to get in that. Like I auditioned to like 8 different drama schools, sent over things to like a bunch of different places, and I was so lucky that like I got that place.
It's interesting. How do you, because we've got a couple of creators on our roster that are aspiring actors. Is TikTok a good thing or a bad thing for your acting career?
Oh, it's such a good question, because I was actually thinking about this recently. I think that in so many ways it's excellent, because exposure, and these days a lot of you know the film industry, TV industry are looking for actors and stuff that already have this like platform in a way,
because they can
promote and like it could cross promote each other in a way, and give each other this kind of like equal opportunity, which I guess is like a very useful thing when you kind of already form connections when you have a large following, because you meet people, you can get into an agency and then all of this stuff. But I think in other ways I feel like it can be a slightly difficult thing, because when you're already known for something else so much,
you get pigeonholed into that.
Yeah, you can be like typecasted a lot. Or even it might be even difficult for viewers that watch something that you're in to really believe who you're trying to be.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's up to being a good actor or not.
Well, exactly. It comes down to, can you make people believe that you're somebody else?
Absolutely.
But does it make you now feel, especially as you've now done a short movie, you're doing more and more stuff at drama school, do you now, I don't want to say like be more careful about the type of content that you post, but do you think about it more?
Yeah, I used to be a lot more like freehand.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, back in the day, I'm sure you just posted whatever you wanted.
Whatever I did, yeah.
Whereas now, are you a bit, I don't know, more careful?
Definitely more careful. But I've noticed that when I am more careful sometimes, authenticity kind of slips.
Well, exactly.
Which is, it's, you know what? It's such a, round the circles type thing.
Yeah.
It's like you do this and then this will happen, and then you do that and then that will happen, and you just go round and round, and, trying to figure it out, and what can I do that is authentic and does work and everyone likes it.
Yeah.
While being, brand safe, or like that's it. That I feel like that's quite an important thing.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Once TikTok turned into like a job.
Yeah.
For me, like something that
so
I should take this
that
seriously.
Changed your content more 100%. Than anything. Right. Okay.
100%. Because I used to post like, I don't know if you've seen, but like I used to post like weird thoughts of mine that like no, like you just shouldn't say that.
It's difficult, isn't it? But what's interesting about the brand safe situation is that what I've noticed, and I've spoke about this with our team loads, is if you come out and you're just this, and I'm not saying you're this, but if you come out and you're just like, I'm going to say whatever I want, I'm going to be controversial from day one, you can get away with it forever. It's when you try and be...
there's some creators that I can like name.
We can all name some people that are controversial, and they'll always be controversial.
Get away with it.
And they get away with it. But then if you're trying to come across as goody two shoes, cookie cutter, and then you say something controversial,
it's crazy all of a sudden.
You get cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I can get away with most things, surprisingly, because I definitely think there's a reason behind it. My following is 50% male and 50% female.
That's interesting.
So because of that,
I wouldn't have thought that.
I'll tell you something, like, this may sound stereotypical, but it is. But like, I feel like female followers are a lot more loyal, and
definitely on TikTok.
Definitely on TikTok, they care a lot more. they listen to what you have to say more.
I don't think that's
I've
stereotypical.
noticed that.
The data is there for that. Female audiences are way more engaged on, at least on TikTok, but I think on all platforms.
For sure, I think so too, because there's this, you know, massive like girl culture on, like, you know, if you've heard of all of like the trends.
You
know,
only need to see like the buying habits from like if you have a female strong audience, you get a higher brand value.
Absolutely.
Because for whatever reason, male audiences don't buy online as much, so you can see that engagement or commenting. The vast amount of comments, especially obviously if you've got a higher female audience, but even on most accounts, is from female users.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
And I think like the fact that like, but I do think that the fact that half of the following is male makes it kind of easier to get away with things, because a lot of men are just like,
what about
move on.
Going back, not to go back, but like, where do you know from which side of the coin you get the most hate and love from? Or is there a disparity between two, or is it just kind of equal?
I've noticed that like the female audiences is definitely more love than the male audiences.
Right, they're more.
But I'll tell you, the men find it easier to hate, I think.
Right.
Like, and I'm not trying to like put categories into like gender now, considering I'm literally a trans woman. But like, but I think that I don't, you know. I'm just thinking of all the comments that I've like read in my life right now, and like most of bad ones are from men. But I'll tell you, a lot of men have like followed me for certain reasons,
right?
And I'm so aware of it because I've like dealt with these kind of men in my life before. So I know I'm young, but like
in real life,
yeah, and like I know. I mean, I feel like a lot of trans women are like fetishized and like all of this kind of stuff, and that makes a massive difference. I mean, if you think about my Instagram, so my Instagram, I don't have as many followers on Instagram like at all, because it's been difficult to like repurpose like TikTok content onto Instagram, because I don't like mixing comedy on my Instagram.
Right. Okay.
So when I post something like that's like fashiony on TikTok, I'll add that to my Instagram.
Got you. Okay.
But because of Instagram, I've noticed my following on Instagram is 80% male.
Interesting.
80% male. It's like, okay, where are you then? Where's my dream man then? Like, come on. Like, no, it confuses me. Like, if 80% of you are actually men, like, where's my boyfriend?
Maybe not on Instagram.
Yeah, actually, I want to find a boyfriend at uni.
In uni?
Yeah.
What, another actor?
I don't do acting. I do experimental arts performance.
So, but same as that.
But yeah, no. But we all merge.
Got you.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So you're not actually doing acting at uni. So
I was originally a writer.
So, oh right, okay. And that was the initial course. Right. And
so
and this is the new one you're moving to.
I've always loved writing.
Got you. Okay.
And like creating, like creative writing.
Right.
I mean, I was like obsessed with like English literature and lang when I was like, I know that's so cringe, but
no.
Like, yeah. So I've always been obsessed with like story writing and like all of that kind of stuff. So I did writing and I was like, okay, this is slay. Then I didn't like it that much. So I switched to experimental arts, which is similar, but has more practical elements.
So are you doing any acting in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
Why I thought.
There was acting and writing as well.
And is that the one you're going to in October?
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense now. That's so interesting. Do you have you, I guess when you're being, because you did the short film, do you worry or do you have any kind of feeling when you're going through castings or anything like that, that you being trans is going to either positively or negatively get you those roles?
This is a really interesting topic of conversation. I appreciate you for bringing this up because I've noticed the way that trans women and women specifically, I've seen it in trans men as well, but are extremely in demand right now.
Interesting.
It's mad.
I've seen like obviously Belle was in the Netflix.
Amazing.
Show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's like an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously like, you know, Yaz, who is one of the actors who plays what's her name in Heartstopper? I can't remember, but people might know. But and then also there's like Hunter Schafer, who's like was in Euphoria, and then is like the biggest like, you know, muse for like Mugler and things like that, and these Mass Prada and stuff. And then there's this creator called Alex Consani, who is now one of the biggest models in the world right now.
Why do you think that is? Like what?
Dominique Jackson, all of these TV shows. There's so many trans women that I can name right now, that are literally doing the most.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's because the world is changing
Yeah.
in a positive way. And I think it's giving opportunities for most people. And it's a brilliant thing. And I think it's really great, especially to see like trans friends of mine. Like,
No, it's huge because, 20 or 30 years ago, or even less, that's not the case.
It's a good thing. I also think it just I think there's this ideal in cinema and TV nowadays. I mean, I studied film studies for A level as well, so like I feel like I know a little
You
bit.
know this.
I know a little bit.
You know this. Yeah.
I feel like there's this more need for, I'm gonna use this term, I like wokeness.
Yes. Yeah.
And it can sometimes come across really cringe.
Right. Okay.
I mean, like, not all the time. I went to the sex education premiere for the first episode.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Fabiola told me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that was so woke in a way where it was actually hilarious, and they were literally taking the piss.
In what way was
just
it
stuff about diversity, gender. I mean, sex education is a very diverse show in the first place.
Yeah.
But they were really pushing it this time. But I think they were doing it on purpose, which made it watchable.
Right. Got you.
And I don't know if I should have said that, by the way, because they said in the thing that I can't say anything. Actually, what day is it today?
The 20th of September.
I know, it's fine. By the time this comes out,
Yeah,
because apparently I can only say a review after it comes out.
Oh, it'll be fine.
Okay.
We'll cut it.
Period. But yeah, so I think this idea for wokeness and diversity has become this really important thing that everyone wants to do, which is, I guess, giving people good roles.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's go.
Have you felt any negativity? Has it stopped anything for you?
I've seen negativity, but I haven't personally felt I mean, there's always going to be someone.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some major person. I don't know, what's his name, Piers Morgan or something. Even our own prime minister.
Yeah.
That says something outrageous.
Well, it's quite interesting because in my notes I've got to talk to you about is a lot. Well, yeah. Well, basically, the government that we've got now, the Conservative government, has done multiple things. I don't know what the word is, but multiple things that is effectively anti-trans.
100%.
Lots of medical stuff. I was reading today.
Oh my god, it's a nightmare.
I was reading some stuff today about bills being passed in Scotland that the UK government or the government in London have kind of pushed back against. How does that make you feel as a trans woman that we've got a government in place right now, and not to get too political, but is effectively obviously not pro-trans?
It's hard because you know what? I will say one thing, right?
Yeah.
If you are not trans yourself, you will never understand
of course not.
how difficult it is. Even if you have the access to all of the things that you need, so affirming healthcare or, good support around you, all of these things, it can still feel so isolating.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue in the government that we have, because they are so in this state of traditional state of mind. I mean, it's all run by old people,
basically, yeah,
guys that and some women that are scared of trans women.
Yeah.
So
well, that's the overarching theme that you get out of the government right now.
That's how I feel. I feel like the women in government are scared of trans women, and then the men in government want to get rid of trans women.
From a medical point of view, because for anybody listening or watching that isn't so clued up about what trans people, men or women, have to go through from a medical standpoint.
Oh, it's so long.
It's long, right?
Oh my god, it's so long.
And
I was gonna go. I'm still not on the NHS for it.
What is that?
So the NHS, you have to go through a whole gender identity clinic thing. Then you have to get assessed, and then you have to do a bunch of these therapy things, and you have to get a psychoanalysis, and then you also have to wait 5 years. After all of that, just wait.
Why?
Until they can approve you, until you're at the top of the list to get affirming healthcare. So it's insane. Not all people have to wait 5 years.
Yeah.
I was waiting a while, and then my parents were like, "This is crazy," because my mental health was
Yeah, of course.
I was like, go. And
so can you go private?
Yeah, but it's expensive.
Very expensive.
I have to pay in America it's worse.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot worse. So I'm trying to count my lucky fingers, but the fact that like I have to pay like £400 like every 2 months just for like my healthcare, just for like my hormones.
That is insane.
I know, and I'm like, thank God I'm in a good position,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
my parents have like taught me well, and like
Yeah.
teach me how to save money and put things aside for certain things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a great thing, but that's still a lot of money, and I would save that if I could get it on the
So
NHS.
that's not even that £400. It's not even surgery.
No.
So what happens if you want to go that route?
Ugh. It's also long.
Yeah.
I mean, I suggest anyone that goes that route to go privately
Because it just
because,
takes so
but
long.
it's expensive. I'm pretty sure it's like 50K. Yeah, but like
That's
there are
insane.
specific places that specialize in it that are amazing, and that's like
Well, you brought up the the issue of mental health and your mental health there, and
it's really important.
It's
the
huge.
things that a lot of trans people do for themselves is so important. It prevents people literally like
Yeah, 100%.
doing the worst.
100%, and I that's what I'm trying to say is that the government or the government are pushing the importance of mental health on the one hand, but they're not helping on the other, and you can't have both.
It's always gonna be, I feel, a little bit tense in that area because it's like it's so difficult for so many people. The attention towards them is not necessarily like highlighted the same way it is to other things that are given way more support.
That is it's quite interesting because I had Alex Partridge on my podcast the other day, and we were talking about ADHD. I think in that podcast we were talking about the fact that there are lots of things that the government, the country, the world has to deal with at one time, and sometimes categories of people just get lost.
For real.
And is that how you kind of feel at the moment with the trans community?
Slightly. I feel, yeah. I think that there are times where it's like completely like no one really cares. But then, I mean, for example, Black trans women are like the biggest minority in like the world. One of the biggest minorities in the world. There are people killed like every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Multiple people.
Well, another thing I've got on my list is to talk to you about is the fact that in 2022, hate crimes towards trans people rose in the UK by 56%.
Disgusting.
Why do you think that is? Like, that's in the UK. That's not even around the world. Like, we've come so far.
When someone doesn't know what to do
yeah.
with something that they don't know,
they act out.
They can act out
in a horrible way.
And it's a real shame because like, why? Like, why? What did that person do to you? It's really, they did nothing. They did nothing except be who they were.
That's what's quite shocking to me is that from when you were 12 and you started learning about trans people online to now, you've already said in this podcast, there's way more positive content out there. Yet hate crimes have gone up by 50%. That just doesn't compute to me that you can have the positivity, but then also have that negative, like hugely negative actions.
When something that people are not used to becomes too strong,
like there's a
people
wave
like to push it down.
Yeah.
And that's just like how, that's with anything. Unfortunately, this involves lives, which is like just such a shame. And I feel like there's only so much I can say because it's great that I have this like platform, and I know a lot of other trans people that have these amazing platforms that are so like trying so hard to make like a community. However, that's another pressure that I think I've had, like as when you said about being a role model, it's like all of these things that are going on in the world right now, because you have 1 million followers, what are you going to do about it?
And you're like,
and it's like I wish I could save everyone's lives,
exactly.
but
and you've got your own life to live, and you're busy, and like you can't do that. So it is interesting because whenever anybody builds a platform, and they're not, and I mean this in the nicest way possible to these type of creators, but they're not just like a comedy creator, or they're not just like a fitness creator, and they actually are talking about a really important topic. I do really feel for them in that they've got such an added pressure to have to use their platform. Sometimes you're just like, I just want to like make some funny content.
For real. Yeah, it switches all the time.
Yeah.
I think, I feel like at the moment I've even had a little bit of a mind blank.
What, creatively?
Yeah, it
Really?
happens. Like, but
how'd you get out of that?
do you know what? I have a weird dream, and I wake up in the morning and I film instantly. That's always what I always get. I get really vivid dreams. Anyone out there that gets really vivid dreams, you film me. You know, it's like things happen in my dreams, and I'm like, I have to morph this into something.
I just love the way of like getting creative is like, I've got to go to sleep.
Yeah,
I've got to go to sleep. I've got to sleep.
I need ideas.
You're like, Mum, Dad, I've got to sleep.
Also, my friends are the funniest people in the world.
Really, that helps.
Shout out to Kat, Sean, Holly. Yeah,
that
Jess.
helps. That helps a lot when you've got people around you that are funny. Because are they creative as well?
Yeah, I mean, my friends from drama school, definitely. My friends from like previously that I'm still friends with are just like the best people ever.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily do like creative subjects or anything like that, but they're just incredible people.
Yeah.
And like that's always the best thing to like surround yourself with. Like I've had phone calls, like recently I had a phone call with like my friend Kat, and she just was speaking, and I was just writing everything down.
Just for a video idea.
Yeah, and we were just like bouncing off of each other, and that's great when you have friends like that kind of like care about your profession too.
Yeah.
Is really important. When it first started happening, I lost a lot of friends.
Really?
Yeah, because I realized that
I
people
think it happens quite often.
Oh yeah, all the time. It depends.
You find out who your but what the good thing is, you find out who your real friends are for sure, because you're not having people call you who have never called you in like 6 months, trying to be like, hey, I saw you on TikTok, and you're like, cool. It's like you know who your real friends are. What's been your career highlight on social media? Because I think I know what it is.
Okay, so obviously Lewis Capaldi was like the most like insane thing.
I'll
tell you this story. Oh my god, it was so funny. Also, I made like really good friends out of it.
Yeah.
Like Brooke and Jess, who I love. If you watch this, basically. So I remember this is when Neve was like looking after me in the agency and stuff. So she was like, oh, let's go to this like concert. And I think it was the next day she was like, oh, by the way, you're like filming with him. And I was like, you sure about that? I was like, you sure about that? And she was like, yeah, like you've been like asked.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I even going to say?
Yeah.
You know, I had no plan. I had no plan.
Yeah.
None at all. I literally like, we watched the show. Neve and I had like a beer, and then like we watched the show. It was cute. It was fun. And then we went back to like the green room, met up. There was a few other creators there that I knew.
Yeah.
And we were all sitting in this green room. Lewis Capaldi walks in. He's the most amazing person, by the way.
Yeah.
Like everything that he's like going through.
Have you watched
his
documentary?
Yeah. Everything that he's going through at the moment is like it's so like profound, like how amazing he is as a person, and like you know anyone can struggle, and that's so important. I think his story is amazing. And we were in the green room, and he walks in and he goes, I love you, you're hilarious. Imagine I do a Scottish accent right now, but it was the best thing ever. And I was like, what, me? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, sweet. And then I filmed first with him, I think. No, second. And I was like, to be honest, I don't know what we're going to do. So let me just think something on the spot. So I kind of involved the roadman in it because he loved it so much. So I was like, sing me your favorite song.
You kind of had to. Like,
I was like, sing me your new song, yeah. And he did it. I'm trying to remember like everything. And then
I think I watched it this morning, and you're like,
I reposted it recently because it was on a year ago today.
Oh, maybe that's why I watched it. Because you were like, sing me your new song.
Yeah, I was like, sing me your new song.
And he sang it, and then you were like,
we did the room my voice together.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
So
oh yeah, he follows me on like everything.
Does he?
Yeah.
It was funny. I was in my barbers a few weeks ago, and they were like, what do you do? And I was like telling them what I do. And they were like, who do you manage? And I was like, well, these are the people on our roster. And they were like, shut up, you've managed Loulou.
What?
Yeah, they love you. They love because they love the roadman voice, and they send it around.
That's what they sign up
like you
for.
said, like they send it around to their mates, and I was like, that's so interesting.
Oh my god, that's crazy. I'm barber talk.
Yeah, you're barber talk.
I love that. Sure. I love that.
So
not hairdresser talk, barber talk.
Is that your career highlight?
That's my career highlight. I think I have some others, but like I can't really. I've done some fun things. Like I think a really fun like this isn't even a highlight. This was just like a little like brand deal that I did, which was like with like Urban Decay, like just going to that whole thing, and then like
that was recently, right?
Yeah, that was really fun. That was so fun.
Yeah,
I loved that because I like meeting the people that are like social, like the social people of brands.
You rarely get to do like when you're doing the brand deals, you're usually just dealing with your manager. So it's quite rare that you get to
I
do
like
that.
to show myself, you know.
It's good. It's
Fabiola always tells me that I'm really good at it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should do that more.
Well, it is difficult though, because those kind of event brand deals, they are happening more and more often, but they're a bit of a rarity.
No, for real.
But getting you in front of brands, I definitely think is a good idea.
Yeah, I find that like I'm quite good at like switching on like a business conversation.
Yeah.
Like I guess I kind of had to learn it quite quickly when I first started.
Yeah.
So like even though when I first started with outreach, even though I had to have a guardian to sign the contracts, I did read them.
Yeah.
And I still read them.
Yeah, good.
Like
a lot of people don't.
A lot of people just sign immediately because they see a number.
That's ridiculous.
And it's like, oh no, like the usage and like, you know, your exclusivity. It's so important.
I love that you're saying this, Loulou, because so many creators just.
Well, you were the one that kind of like taught me. I feel like
we're very hot as an agency to make sure because
that people know.
So many creators will sign with us, and they'll come from management, and they'll just be like, "Oh, I never see my contracts," and the management just sign it, and you're like. What the hell? Like, you're just letting people sign away your exclusivity rights.
That's what I love about outreach.
Rights.
Outreach is like, I don't know. Like I've only ever been with outreach, so I can't really suggest anything else. But outreach is a brilliant, you know, agency. You guys have really changed my life.
That's sweet. You don't need to say that, but that is sweet.
Actually, I hate you so much. You know, like, oh gosh, I wish I wasn't in this agency.
It is sweet though, because it's. Do you know what? Obviously, like earning money and building a business it's a great thing to have. But when I see people like yourself doing well, or like we have other creators that have like got married or bought a house, or like just like their life has changed, and I'm like all those things will happen for you. That's when I'm like, this job's awesome, because it's all come from social media, which is kind of crazy. It wasn't here 10 years ago.
Gonna be so real, like it's so easy.
I don't know.
I feel like it's actually like sometimes I get kind of like guilty. In a way, because my brother works so hard. Yeah. And he's one of the smartest. My brother is probably one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
No, is most likely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we grew up, we've always been so close, my brother and I, throughout everything. And he's one of the smartest people I know. I mean, he's a solicitor.
Yeah.
And he works a training solicitor, like, so he's 23. He's just 24 now, actually.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, doing well for himself. But the amount of work he does compared to the amount of work I do, and then our equivalent earnings is just like disgraceful.
It is something difficult when you talk about social media creators' earnings. It is quite difficult to talk about it because
that's the first question that people ask me.
What, when they meet you, like how much you earn? See, that's crazy because again, like back in the day, like that's just like a no-no.
Yeah. If it was any other person, that's the thing. If it was any other person in any industry, you know, you're not just going up to people and like, I just met you. How much do you earn?
100%.
Like, no, you don't do that.
It's because people are fascinated by it.
They're fascinated, but also it's because you share so much of your life already. You may as well share everything.
But it is difficult to talk about because I'll be the first to say, like, the amount of money that creators get paid is sometimes astronomical. Not always, because I know creators that just earn a decent living. But then my argument is, well, what about musicians? What about actors? What about footballers? Like, there's plenty of industries where people are overpaid. And there's a lot of industries like teaching or nursing
that people are terribly
where
underpaid.
You're terribly underpaid. So it's like, I understand that. I think that's something that we try and do as an agency is work with people that are at least adding value.
I've seen that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
With outreach, like
sure
there's a lot of such a variety.
We don't just manage, like, no offense to these people, but just like people who dance in their bedroom and make like, we want, you know, we manage people like yourself, people that are talking about ADHD, people that are adding value in terms of not even just like adding value from
politics, like everything,
but even just like an expert fitness creator or an expert beauty creator, someone that's actually going to add something to people's lives, so that when we do make money from it, at least we're adding that value to people's audiences.
Absolutely, good intentions.
Exactly. Loulou, my final question for you, which is something that I ask most people, but I kind of tailor it depending on the person. For any other trans people out there, or somebody who's growing up now and they they're not really understanding themselves. They're where you were when you were 12. What's your biggest piece of advice for them?
I'm going to think about this.
Take your time.
Okay.
Something that's just, if you could tell your 12-year-old self now.
My biggest piece of advice is don't give up. And I know that sounds really cringe. That's like, oh my God, don't give up. No, don't. Because there is always going to be that light, no matter what, no matter if you're in a shitty position, no matter if you can't afford this, there is always a reason for something to work out in your favor. And I think I forgot that for so long, which is why it took me so long. However, there is always going to be a moment where you're going to realize that I can actually get through with this, and I can learn things. I can improve myself. I can think about all of the ways I can feel better about myself that aren't necessarily to do with the typical things that involve being transgender. There are methods, there are ways, even if it's just doing your makeup in the morning, or just the minor things in life can really, really, really help you in your own personal journey. And accept it when things feel low, and accept it when things are amazing. Because usually people don't like to accept when things are really good.
Yeah.
Realize what you do have.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
once you realize what you do have, then there's so much more opportunity to grow from
it's that element of showing gratitude for the things.
Gratitude.
It's hard though. It's really
terribly hard.
I find it one of the hardest things in life to just sit back and go, oh, actually, that's pretty good. Loulou, honestly, this has been one of my favorite conversations I've ever had. I'm not just saying that just because you're here, but thank you so much.
Of course.
And where can people find you on social media?
At Loulou Supu, with LOULOUSOUPU. Why did I have to think about my username for a second? People actually don't know that Supu means soup in Japanese.
I think Fabiola's told me that.
Yeah, that's the reason. Anyways, that's where you can find me. That's on everything.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Cool.
Yay!